the IAIMA podcast with Loretta and Bianca. Stories, advice and discussions to resource, encourage and support independent music artists.
Hi guys, so here at IAIMA we are usually communicating with and trying to assist the independent artists who are already on their journey. But today we thought if an artist was starting out, if somebody was just about to, commence an independent music artist career, what would we tell them? How would we want to help them? So today we're sharing a bunch of tips for the artist who's just starting their music career. We cover things like performing and how to do that well and why you do that, building a fan base, income streams, which we don't tend to think about at the beginning of our careers, funding, setting goals, consistency, admin, dreaded admin, and much more. So even if you've been on your journey, there may be some things that you're kind of avoiding that maybe you need a reminder to do, or there may be some new bits here, or just a reminder of the things that we should all be doing that could be helpful for us moving forward. So sit back, guys, enjoy. So the thing we wanted to cover first is the key that we think is the most important thing, and it can seem obvious, but music is key. The music you create is key. It's the most important part of the process. It's the thing that people are coming to you to listen to. There's the things that's going to make fans out of passerbys, and we can kind of get distracted by all the other things we have to do as independent artists, the PR and the visuals and how am I, approaching my social media and all these different things. But making the best music you can make and continually evolving and growing in that area should be our main focus.
Totally. I mean, it's that cliche, isn't it, of, you can have a nice cover for a book, but if the story is boring, it doesn't matter. You can
Exactly.
have a nice wrapper, but if the content doesn't taste very nice, then, at the end of the day, the content is everything. And I don't think the way that the music industry's gone in today's day and age has helped, because I think there's so much on image, on looks, that in some case it can appear that the music is secondary. And I think that's made artists think, well, I have to look like this, I have to appear to be coming across this way. But that stuff does go a long way, but without great music, you're certainly not going to be staying around, you're certainly not going to have a long career. And that's why you always have to come back down to, why am I doing this and what am I trying to say in this song, and is it a good song?
Right. And we want people to enjoy what we do, and it can be confusing when you kind of come across an artist and everything looks amazing, but then the music kind of doesn't match everything else.
Yeah.
And even if you have to start somewhere, but is that artist even growing musically, and is the music kind of evolving and getting better, and and all those sorts of things, like that takes work and that takes focus. And so we wanted to just kind of give some tips that we're thinking about as to kind of how to focus on your music and how to make sure that you're kind of growing in the right direction there.
Yeah, and I think sounds really stupid, but I think one of the things that is just really, really important is to actually do it. It sounds so stupid, but to actually make sure that you're writing it, and particularly sometimes it usually starts that way with an artist writing songs, but once they've done one project, then it's all about everything else, and they can forget to just keep on writing. Keep a notebook next to your bed or on the bus, keep a recording device, your phone, keep all those voice notes. Constantly make sure that you are actually doing it, that you're being an artist, and find out the things that inspire you and do them more, because sometimes when you get in the machine of it, which is a part of it, we talk about this at IAIMA with the promotion or all of those things you need to do, particularly if you're independent. It's sometimes you can forget what inspires you.
Right.
So try and remember what does, and if that's getting outside, if it's reading a good book, if it's living life a bit, so that
Yeah.
you've actually got something to write about, but remembering what inspires you and make sure you're actually doing it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, because I find that when I personally get bogged down with everything else, it starts to become a chore. Like the actual journey of being an independent artist, it starts to become a chore, and I start to question, what is this? What am I doing? Because I don't like all the other stuff. But then I remember, oh yeah, you haven't actually picked up your guitar in a few weeks, Bianca. You haven't actually, done a gig or created any music. Maybe do that. Maybe just remember what this is all about. And even creating consistently, music begets music. You create, and it inspires you, and then you create more. And I came across an artist who was challenging himself to write a song a day. And in the beginning, I didn't have to challenge myself to do that. I was always creating. But as you say, there's so many things to think about that sometimes you do need to challenge yourself. I think he was writing a song a day and sharing just unfinished demos online. And people have different views on sharing your stuff, like before it's finished or whatever, floats your boat. But just, I think that was a challenge to him, like to write a song a day,
to make
share.
you actually do it. Yeah.
And actually that's like really organic engagement also with your audience, without.
And there may be out of a whole year there may be 200 songs that you don't use, but there may be 100 gems in there. And 100 songs, that's a lot.
Like, how many albums is that? How many EPs is that? How many singles could you get out of that? Like, sometimes we're like, okay, I need to create another project. But if you're always writing, you've always got music. And when opportunities come to work with someone new, or, you need to put a project out, you've got a bank of music there to,
I think as well, there's that people have different views on whether there's formulas for songwriting, and for some people it really works to study the structure of a song, or if you're not aware of it. And this is the great thing, I think, with all writing. I think this about books as well. Like I had a lecturer at university who used to talk about radio, but also about storytelling in terms of writing books. And he would say, in order for there to be good grammar or good storytelling, it needs to be like a picture where the grammar and the structure is actually the glass. When you look at a picture, you don't notice the glass, you notice the picture, but the glass is there. And what he meant by that is, you could do it by taking a song that you love, and you've never thought about why you love this, you love the song, but really listen to it and go, what is it about this song that I love? Is it the order? Is it the way it progresses? Is it the journey it takes my emotions on? Is it the light and shade? And actually, it could ruin your favourite song for you, so sorry if it does that. But at the same time, by dissecting actually what it is, you'll notice there's some very intentional things in place which serve the song, but in itself you're not aware of them because you're just enjoying the song. And I think that's quite a good tip to do that. Yeah,
that's so good. Just like literally, like, why do I feel emotional at that point? Why do I feel hopeful at that point? What is it about that bridge that like gets me every time? And as you say, it could ruin it, but I don't think it should. You'll always love it. But actually, there's so many things you can learn from other people's music that you can adopt. And if you're in that if you force yourself to be in that creative mode, more often than not, like that study can be really just fun and also helpful.
I wondered if you could talk a bit about this, Bea, because I know it was something that you didn't find easy at first, and most artists don't, is the idea of writing with someone else. It can be utterly terrifying. What do I say? How do I start it? What if they think my ideas are rubbish? But actually, when you're so used to writing by yourself, it can really bring new ideas you'd never have come up on your own. Yeah,
I mean, I'm still on that journey of being able to create in a room with other people. I'm one of those people that I prefer to be by myself with my instrument. My ideal scenario is to create a song and give it to somebody, and they do what they do over it. I'm growing into a place where I actually am becoming more production minded, and I want the song to feel like it's come from me, and I have more ideas, but I haven't naturally thought in the production side. Like, my mind doesn't naturally work that way, but I think that grows. But anyway, I think it's so important to work with other people, because there's some songs you will never create by yourself, because someone else in the room that says something, the conversation you had before you started writing, a certain chord that somebody else plays, like you may have never done that in another moment by yourself, and it's a real great learning experience. I've learned to not put pressure on myself to have to come up with something in a session.
Do you go with a prepared idea just in case, or do you just wait to see what happens in the room?
I always have lyrics, I always have melodies, I always have things, like there's always things that I can draw on that I've got in my kind of bank, because I try to, you know, have my voice memos like there and be, if I'm listening to music, kind of listening to what's inside of me if I'm driving, and then kind of record something, not when I'm driving. So I do come with stuff, but I've been working with somebody recently, and we were working on a track that I've brought, but then I think we really respect each other. So after we were working on that, we're like, let's try something new. So they started, you know, literally, they're amazing, coming up with chords and built a track really quickly. And I inside, I was like, oh, I really would like to do this at home. And I think I was coming up with little things, and I was kind of doing it really quietly. And they were awesome, because what they did is they just carried on building the track and doing what they were doing and humming and blah de blah. And I came up with a couple of ideas, and then they just gave me the track, and I went home, and then I literally hit them. I sent back my verse, chorus, whatever, because I could do it at home.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm still learning, but that process is really important, because some songs will never happen without working with others.
It is a daunting thing to do, but I think it's a really rewarding thing to do. And if you think that you're not a very strong songwriter, it's a great way to learn, and it's a great way to get a song by collaborating with someone, but still having your stamp and your ideas, because you might have the concept, but they might be good at melodies, or maybe you're great at melodies, but they could do the other part. So collaboration is a great way to grow if you're getting a bit stuck as well.
Yeah, and just on that, like, I think it's a good way to learn what your strengths are, because you might be able to, as you said, you might have a great idea, and you might be able to communicate the colour and the feel and the sound, which might stimulate the other people in the room to create something on a track. And so your input is important, whether you feel like you're a songwriter or not, or whether you feel like you're a musician or not. Like, you can grow in those areas, but you can contribute to the creation of new music. And
on that, obviously you play guitar, but you haven't always done. Do you think it's essential that you can play an instrument to songwrite, or is it at least an advantage or helpful?
It's not essential, but I think it's an advantage. It depends what type of artist you want to be, and what you see your trajectory being. I definitely think it's an advantage. It helps you to be independent. It helps you to not have to be in a room with other people to create, and it helps you to, you could. I've written songs with no music, like the whole song has just come to me, or I've built it just a cappella. But having some chords there helps to communicate how to build the track. So I do think it's an advantage. It's never essential, I don't think. There's too many examples of artists who don't play instruments. Yeah. And they're awesome. So, yeah.
That's good. So there's room for everybody, whatever stage you are. One of the things that we would definitely advise is for you to just test out your songs in front of an audience, because sometimes you can get songs that sound great in your head, great in the studio, and they for some reason don't translate live. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's not a good song, because it may mean it's a song to keep on an album. Similarly, songs that you just think, oh, that one's all right, and then for some reason audiences just connect with it whenever you perform live, and that's really important to know, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, you want people, the idea is people are going to listen to this and hopefully they're going to enjoy it. So actually being able to test that is important. But also, when you bring a song live, it may help you then to know actually how to tweak the song. There might be some things like, you know what, I need to go back and rewrite that bridge, or actually I need to do that again. I need that part of the song. I maybe need to repeat that bit again because that was a good moment, and maybe it bears repeating later on in the song. So I think being brave enough to maybe even test your songs early on in your creative process. Like saying, this song isn't finished necessarily, let me test it and continue working on it.
Great. Yeah, that's great. I mean, we're going to be picking up the theme of songwriting is going to come up time and time again at IAIMA. And whenever we speak to great artists, we promise to ask the question for you, because I find it fascinating how different people are inspired and how they set about songwriting, because there is no one right way to do it, and there's different ways, but hopefully it's come across loud and clear that the song is everything. Your music, your content is everything. That's got to be your start and finishing place, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Music is key. Like, never ever lose focus. Like, that is the thing that we should be putting our energies into most of the time.
So shall we move on to performance then?
Yeah.
I mean, we touched on that just then when we just talked about testing your songs out, but it really it's incredible how I've met over the years artists who have managed to never perform live, or at least for a very long time. Wow. So, you know, they could have a full album, be on a second or third album, and very rarely perform live. And I don't know, I always feel like you can't be fully developed without that.
I was just about to say, I feel like if you hold back from engaging with your audience face to face, I feel like your growth is stunted as an artist. Yeah. There probably are exceptions, you know, to that rule, but I from observation, like, not many things grow you as fast as getting in front of various audiences consistently. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things to learn. I think you can perform in your room or in a studio in front of a mirror even, and you get on stage, you just add that you slightly can't hear that people are talking over you, that the drums are really loud and are really close to you, and suddenly it can completely throw you. So you know your song in your favourable environment, and you know you can kill it and it sounds amazing, but the challenge is to know how you can perform your song in a live setting and to adapt that to different live settings. Right. Yeah. And that's where you strengthen yourself as a performer, when you can make sure that you don't give it away on your face when you can't hear yourself at all, when you can make sure that you don't lose your voice because you can't hear yourself at all. All these things can only be learnt live, and they're all part of being an artist and being a performer, and you just have to get out there to do it. Even in terms of confidence and nerves, you know, it's very easy to do that in a studio setting, but until you're performing live, you don't know how your voice might change, your vocal cords change from nerves.
Yeah, and even how to kind of command a crowd and just to control those moments. I remember when I first started music, and I just go to open mics all the time, like, I didn't really realise that, you know, that quiet moment when everybody, you know, when you do open mics, sometimes people are listening and they're not, because often not everyone's there to listen to music. But when you get that audience, or you have that moment where you're singing and then everybody is listening, I used to drop the ball. I used to be like, oh my gosh, everyone's listening. They're like tuned in, like,
even though that's what they're there for.
Right, no, but you could tell, like, oh my gosh, like, you've kind of commanded that moment. Yeah. I did not know what to do with that, and I would, like, just mess up. I'd literally just fall apart, and I had to learn how to control that moment, how to really go into the song and be like, people are engaged right now, like, they, you know, this is great. How do I command this moment? Conversely, when people are talking, as you say, or like people are just like not necessarily listening, or you're playing in, you know, a bar and half that crowd are not there to listen to music, like, what do you do? How do you communicate your music? What song do you play next? Yes. You know, that may actually pull in more people, may actually pull people's attention away from their drink and their friends, and actually that group of people are now listening to you. Like, you can't do that at home. That's
a really good point, actually, there, in adapting your set list to the venue, to the audience. And you may have to sometimes do that live, because you may at home write your set list and you get there and you're like, this is going to be a noisy one, I need to do different songs. Or you get there and you realise it's a really attentive crowd, and perhaps you could bring out those quieter moments or those more contemplative songs, because you've got the audience there. That's something that's really important.
Even in that, I used to look at my set and go, okay, the key and the chords of this song are similar to that song. I better not put those two together. People are going to switch off. There could be two great songs, but if you put them back to back, it's like, okay, people's attention spans are going, and you don't realise that actually they sound... There's no change. There's not much change in that. But if you put that song at the beginning and that song later in between some really different songs, you've like built your set really well.
That's a really good tip, actually.
Yeah. When I didn't know very many chords, I had to learn that one really fast.
One of the things I was going to say on performance, and I really don't think she'll mind me saying this at all, I think she would say it herself, but another artist that I work with, Vanessa Ferrero, who is incredibly talented. I mean, music runs through her veins. She started playing piano from age 5 as a very shy child and really communicated through her music, and her day job is actually as a composer, a film and TV composer, so she's incredibly musically talented. She'd also been she plays piano, but she'd also been a keyboard player in various bands. Well, just a couple of years ago, she decided that she was going to become an artist, and she had been on quite a journey musically and personally, and she'd written these beautiful songs. She learned guitar ridiculously quick. It was annoying. She was amazing at it, and because she was so talented and so musical and operating at such a high level composer wise, I think she expected it to be a fairly seamless transition, but the truth was she'd never in her entire life sung in front of a single person ever. So for her, she was this accomplished artist, and yet she realised she was a complete beginner when it came to performance. And a lot of it to start with was doing open mic nights and controlling her voice because of nerves, just learning things like how to introduce the songs and how to speak to the crowd. And it was such an interesting journey. It just really punctuates this point of no matter how musical you are, how good your songs are, learning to perform and to perform well is a different craft and an essential one, and you can only do it through practice and repetition and getting out there and being in front of different audiences.
And I think it's also important to be okay with failing in front of people on the stage, because you don't want to do that. You don't want to be in a room and to be messing up. But I know for myself, like, I picked up a guitar, and then a month later I was forced to perform in front of people. I didn't expect to. I thought someone else was going to play for me. My uncle.
I love this story.
Yeah, my uncle was supposed to play for me. He said, let's go to an open mic. This is a great song. And when I got there, we signed up and he was like, you're going to play for yourself. I'm not playing for you. And I just didn't realise that was what was going to happen. And he's not a person to argue with. I was like, yes, of course. And then I got up and it was all I could not play the guitar. I had to pause between each chord, but I sang through it and everyone was listening to the song. It was really crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, everyone's listening and I'm really bad. And he saved me halfway through the song. He started playing his guitar from the back of the room and everyone started clapping. And
sounds like a movie scene.
Yeah, it was awesome. But from then, I went to open mics every single week, and then I was doing 4 or 5 a week, every day after work, and I was okay making mistakes. I was okay just learning on the job. I couldn't play the guitar and I could hardly sing. I had terrible nerves, the air would suck back into my throat because my heart was beating so fast and I just couldn't control my vocal cords and I couldn't control myself.
Can I just say what's incredible now, just thinking back to your tour last year, and we just had such a great time on a tour in some really beautiful intimate settings, and watching you perform, and your songs sort of demand to be listened to, but you on so many occasions just had the room in the palm of your hand with the power of your voice and your songs and the light and shade, and just it's so hard to imagine you with you sucking in the air and not being so 10 minutes between each chord change, and so how you've grown, and just to encourage you, if you're listening, if you're at the stage like Bianca was, and open mics are a great arena to showcase your music and to grow, because they don't mind if you make mistakes. It's actually, sometimes we can feel embarrassed how people are going to react, but people are willing you to win on the whole. And
they're going out for fun night. Open mics are a fun night. You get everyone going there. Someone playing the spoons, everything. It's a good place to do that. And also, it probably moves us on to the next point in terms of performance as networking.
Yes.
for personally, I graduate. You know, you do the open mics and you do it and you grow, and then someone's like, oh, do you want to be the main performer at the open mic? You get half an hour, everyone else gets one song, and you know, you do that, and you start to make a network in your area as you grow, and as you grow, opportunities are likely to come your way. They're not going to come your way if you're singing at home all the time, like really crafting your songs until they're perfect, you know, and just being like, no, it's not done yet, you know. I need to have my photography, I need to have my social media. Like, cool. Like, I personally don't really understand people just growing their online presence and doing things at home and just never getting in front of like real people, like face to face. Like, I don't understand only doing that.
Just a quick reminder that we have a growing library of really useful videos on our YouTube page, including interviews with artists and music industry insiders sharing their experience and expertise. Search IAIMA on YouTube or visit our website www.iama.co.uk. And that's mainly how you build your audience, isn't it? You know, the networking with other musicians and with organisations, but at the same time you're also meeting fans.
Right.
And often in these settings it's die-hard music fans, and you could do a gig sometimes to 10 people, but if 2 of those become lifelong fans, you know, I'm sure you're familiar with the notion of 100 true fans. They say that any artist can be successful if they have 100 true fans, and by doing these small venues, that's how you're growing your following, how you can build your audience and get your music out there, and ultimately eventually leading to a really invaluable and realistic revenue source. Touring is an essential part of being an artist in terms of your reach and growing your reach and how far and wide your music goes, but also it's a way of making money.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't skip that. And you say networking, you know, moves on to our next tip, which is like building your fan base. And doing that face to face is like an essential part of that. But also, like, a lot of artists don't think about building their mailing list at the beginning of their careers. They, you know, it's something that comes down the line, and there are sort of, if you gig or you do all those things, like you might have done like, you know, 100 gigs before you go, oh, okay, yes, I need to like go to this gig with like my mailing list so people can sign up, and you've kind of missed quite a few people, but it's an important one to do.
Really important. Knowing your fans and having that 100 fans goal is so essential, and people, like we said, that they want you to win, they want to come on your journey. And you need to invite them and engage them on that, and doing that live, involving them, social media. We're in a day and age when building your fan base and reaching and knowing your fan is easier than ever thanks to social media, but making sure that they feel a part of it. I know some artists feel like they want this sort of air of mystery, where, you know, you get my music but you don't know much about me, but actually the fans who truly buy into you want to know what you're up to, what the stories are behind your songs, and also what you're doing in your everyday life. So social media is great at that, and you of course can decide what to give away and what not to, whatever you feel comfortable with. But the whole idea of remembering that everything you post is saying something about you as an artist, and even if that is your shopping, you know, just think about, you know, have a point to it. You know, don't just needlessly do this, because it's all building a picture. It's all helping your fans to know who you are and to build that fan base, and for them to have a connection and to understand. Running competitions is a great way of doing that, leading up to a release or leading up to a tour. One very popular thing at the moment is running challenges, so getting people online to do their version of your song, and that not only promotes your song, but it also makes your fans feel included, so they will love it when you mention their name or repost what they've created for you as well. So there's so many. Just get really creative. Just think about if you are a fan, you know, hopefully most of us as artists and creatives are fans of music. What do you want to know? What would engage you? What would you love to hear and know about? And do that for your fans. There's someone out there who does actually care.
Yeah, they are, and they do want to go on the journey with you, as you say, and also learning how to communicate on all the different platforms that you choose to be on. They do kind of take a different focus. You know, Twitter is different from Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and all the ones you decide to communicate through. Just kind of learning how to communicate effectively, and that just take a bit of research on Google, and you know, putting like a bit of a business head on and going, okay, you know, not me the artist, but actually what is the best way to approach this, and then put yourself back in as an artist and as a creative and as an individual, and how do you want to apply those rules and tips and approaches for you personally, but and being consistent with that. But one thing I did want to say was that we don't know where social media is going. It's not going anywhere. It's here to stay, but it's growing so fast
and evolving,
and we don't know how it's evolving. That actually building your own mailing list is important. Like having your own way of communicating with your fans, like outside of social media. You know, communicating with them directly via email or however else you want to communicate with them with is important. So if you want to do proper lo-fi, take a piece of paper at gigs or wherever you go and name, email address, you know, and get their permission. Or there's apps now. MailChimp have a thing where you can go and you can just, people can put their details directly on your phone or your iPad, and so just being consistent with growing your own network and your own community around you is going to be really important. And you might think, I just got one person today, but you know, times that by 300 times you go and do a gig, and times that by a few years, and you are growing as an artist, and you're growing your community.
Absolutely, it's a really important thing to think about, and leads on really nicely to our next point. I'm going to get you to speak about this, B, because you are pretty much website queen.
Wow.
Is the website dead? Do we still need them?
I just think what I think is that it might not be as important as it used to be, and I think it's different for different artists. It depends how you approach your website and how you kind of direct your traffic, and if you could make it a home where people want to come to, but actually people are mostly on social media. But if you type someone's name into Google, it's nice that there is a biancharose.co.uk, and even if it's just an anchor point for people to know that, you know, there's somewhere outside of social media where they can find you, I think it's important.
I think so. And, you know, it doesn't have to be complicated. There gone are the days when you'd have to spend £2,000 and find a designer.
Right.
It'd be weeks and weeks. They'd come back to you and then you wouldn't like what they've done.
Right.
I mean, you've got some great things. Squarespace, I'm such a huge fan of it. Looks great, really easy to do. Even I can build
so
one.
Customizable, and you can be as elaborate as you want to be, and also I think it's also important for, as you go forward, for press and, you know, other members of the music industry, if they want to go somewhere and find out, you know, get your press pack or
all in one place.
Your photos, you can list all your past gigs, so they've seen what you've done this last year, you know, can go and listen to your music. They can just have a semi-professional one-stop place to find out about you. I think it's important just to have something, even if it's simple. Absolutely.
Well, let's move on to our next point then, income streams. Now, you know, it's kind of the artist thing to say, hey, I'm just doing music because I love it, you know, and just putting it out that way. But ultimately, of course, we would all love to make money from this, and for our art to be valued, but also to make a career out of it. And we firmly believe that you can. I mean, we might not all be Beyonce and Jay-Z, but at the same time, you can make a good income from your music. But you sometimes have to think outside of the box. Like, it's not all just going to come from selling your album. That's just unrealistic, and particularly as independents, you need to start thinking creatively about income streams coming from all sorts of different things. Now, one obvious one is merchandise. And again, I feel like some artists feel like you can only have merchandise when you're going to do a 20-date tour of the US or something like that. But actually, people really do buy merch, don't they?
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be expensive, and it can really bring in an income. Just tell us a bit about your experience with that, because I mean, you're Miss Creative anyway. You have such great creative ideas.
Yes. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I did do what you said, like, in terms of I didn't have merchandise until I was going to go on a tour, when I think I should have thought around that before. But yeah, I think merch is one of those things that you have to kind of look at yourself as an individual, and not necessarily try to make the typical merch that everyone makes, you know. And if it doesn't really fit in with your personal image or your music. And so I think I just looked at, you know, I'm a singer-songwriter. I play guitar, and so and my message of my last album was No Fear Here. So I was thinking about all of those things, and so I collaborated with an artist in Sweden, and they have amazing artwork, and they created some art, A5 art, with the No Fear Here text there that I sold online, and I put some lyrics on a tote bag, and I made some badges. I thought, you know, No Fear Here, that is something that is quite powerful, and actually that would be nice on a badge. And that's the thing, that one sold really well, and to people who I sold to, they said, I have so much feedback from that when I'm on a train. Like, people go, oh, what's that badge all about, or what's that all about?
It's happened to me so many times wearing your badge. Yep, so many times. And it's just a great conversation starter, and say, oh, it's an artist called Bianca Rose. Oh, what's the name? I'll write that down. And it's just interesting, it's intriguing to do that. And I love the idea that you collaborated with another creative as well, because sometimes we might not have the skills but somebody else has. And I really loved what you said about making sure that it's reflective of who you are, because it's another extension of your image, and your fans will like your music for a reason, and will be buying into that, so they will quite likely think in the same way as you, so they're going to quite likely also go, oh yeah, it makes sense you've got that merch, and that's my taste as well, because my taste is you as an artist, and you as your music.
That's so good. That's such a good point. And and also maybe collaborating can make it a bit cheaper, because actually they sold that piece of art in their business, and I sold it too, so the costs were kind of split because we were both benefiting. So there's something to think about. You know, if t-shirts work for you and it makes sense, or what do other people generally do? So it's often like clothing and stuff like that, like cool. But I actually used a website called Awesome Merchandise, and they have I think they're directed at musicians and who want to create merch for their tours or whatever, to support their music. So check them out, because actually there's a lot of ideas you can get from their website, and you can see what other people have done. But yeah, think outside of the box, and it's actually quite a fun creative project as well, alongside making music.
Absolutely. And again, that's just another way for you, like Bianca said, to be creative. But let's face it, most independent artists, at least in the beginning, usually have to have a day job.
Absolutely.
And this is something I'm quite passionate about talking about with artists, because it is the frustration of artists, the balance of energy. Sometimes your day job can really exhaust you, and then you feel like you have little energy to put into your actual dream, the thing that gives you life. And even with my own endeavours, I have gone through phases where I've been really frustrated with my day job. And then I remember one day getting a slight revelation of, instead of resenting my day jobs, having a revelation that it's what was funding my dream, what was enabling me to do my dream. Because most of us don't have rich parents, and we certainly as independents don't have a label behind us. So we have to pay for our video, we have to pay for our recording, we have to pay for our merchandise, for our image, all of these things, and we have to eat.
I know an artist who is just recorded I'm sure it's an album. Yeah, she just recorded an album last week, and she just said that she didn't necessarily have a plan to record at this point, but actually she'd been saving. She teaches, and she'd been saving, you know, all the money that she had spare, and so when she decided to do it, she had the money there.
Right.
So, you know, she would not have been able to just record when the opportunity seemed, you know, right for her. But she'd been saving so she could.
That's great. And I just think you have to be realistic as an independent artist. And to me, there's two ways of doing it when it comes to work, you know, as in grown-up jobs. Yeah. You can either get a really low maintenance job that doesn't take much of your time. You know, you just turn up, you do your 9 to 5 or you do your hours. It doesn't take any brain power and it just pays you your bills, and that's it. The rest of your energy and your time is to put on your music, and it's literally just to fund it. But the other way is to find a job that might not be being an independent artist, but actually is still using your skills. So that way you've got opportunity to network, you've got an opportunity to keep using your skills and honing them. So maybe that's teaching, maybe it's working as a session musician, backing vocals. There's many different creative jobs, even if it's working in promotion or at a radio station or something that's to do with the music industry, because you can also learn some things about a different part of the music industry. And
you feel like you're not doing some people, they need to feel like they're not doing something else outside of their industry, because it feels like a theft to them. But if you're at least able to be in the music industry, in the music business, but finds another way to earn money to support your own personal career, that's helpful. I mean, for me, like this IAIMA, this is like my side hustle to my music base. For me, it's just as important at this stage, but it's something that I'm hoping to build into something that personally is a business that, you know, provides me an income. But I'm so passionate about this journey, so like to be able to spend my time creating my own music but also helping artists at the same time, you know, my hope is that it is an income stream for me at some point. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, that other difficult decision on this subject is whether to leave a job and when to leave a job. And nobody can tell you this. I mean, I would just say the thing to do might perhaps be to do it gradually, and it depends on your circumstances, on who, you know, if you've got children, if you've got people depending on you, but maybe cutting down to part-time if you're really not able to create any music because of the time. Then maybe you could work part-time and do it, the compromise that way. And once you've got some money starting to come in from your artistry, you could take that step to leave when you feel that you can do. That's so good. Just being realistic about it. Some people have like been ready I'm just leaving and I'm going to put all my eggs into this basket, and they make it work. I have found often that actually the gradual move over is gentler and less. Some people have come to resent the music because it's been so hard, because they've just jumped into it and it's like, oh gosh, this has not worked out. It works for some, but I don't know if it works for a lot of people. But I think the gradual move is probably good. But in general, in terms of the income stream topic, like at the beginning of your career, it's great to just assess the different options. You know, I can earn money from live at some point. I can earn money from my recorded music at some point. There is merchandise. Like actually looking at the income streams around your music, and then the wider income streams that can support like a long career.
And we've spoken to independent artists who are qualified pharmacists.
Yes.
And we've spoken to some who work in a cinema part-time or work in a call centre. It's amazing what some artists can achieve while working really hard, and sometimes their motivation is so that they can fund their dreams. So you're not alone. Use some wisdom when you decide to scale back. At some point there will need to be that leap and that risk, but at the same time it's a scary thing to do, so to do it with a dose of wisdom as well, but dream big.
Yes.
For more great content from IAIMA, find us on social media at We Are IAIMA. Check out our Spotify playlist for new music from independent artists. Search We Love Independent Music.
And don't forget to sign up to our mailing list, where you'll receive a free 10-day guide especially designed to inspire and equip independent music artists with some really useful, practical and inspirational resources. Sign up at www.IAIMA.co.uk.